Some people feel you, even before they see you. It's strange, right? Like sometimes you walk past someone and they don't even look at you first. They notice you through the air first. That soft trace of you, your presence, your scent. Because smell is one of the strongest emotional triggers in the human brain. It doesn't ask permission. It just goes straight into memory. Maybe it's a clean, fresh vibe. Maybe a warm, sweet tone. Something like a subtle luxury scent, like Dior Sauvage or Bleu de Chanel kind of feeling. Or even just your own natural signature smell mixed with confidence and hygiene. And suddenly, people turn, not because you spoke, not because you tried, but because something about you registered before logic even had time to react. And that's the funny thing about human attraction. It doesn't always start with eyes. Sometimes it starts with memory. Now imagine this. You walk into a room, and before you even say a word, people already feel something shift. Not because you're loud, not because you're performing, not even because you're trying to be noticed, but something about you just pulls attention, like people start thinking about you, even after you leave. And the strange part, you didn't do anything special. Now tell me, how does that even happen? Because today I'm going to show you something most people never talk about properly. Not in school, not in conversations, not even online in a real way. We're going deep into what makes people secretly drawn to someone. And I'm not talking about fake tricks or manipulation. I'm talking about human psychology, the unconscious kind, the kind explained by Carl Jung, who spent his life studying what actually happens inside people's minds when they feel pulled towards someone for reasons they can't explain. And once you understand this, you'll realize something very simple but powerful. People don't just react to what they see. They react to what they feel about you before they even understand you. And once you see this, you can't unsee it again, because suddenly you'll start noticing it everywhere. In relationships, in friendships, even in strangers. So let me start with something simple. There are two types of people in this world. The first type walks into a room and tries to be noticed. The second type walks in, and the room quietly adjusts itself around them. No effort, no announcement, no performance, just presence. And here's the twist. The second type is not trying to be attractive. They're just expressing something internally that people feel before they understand. And that feeling is what creates obsession. Not love, not crush, not admiration. Obsession. Now don't get scared by that word. Because today, we're not talking about toxic obsession. We're talking about why people can't stop thinking about you. Even when they don't want to. Even when they go home. Even when they're busy. Even when they try to forget. You still pop into their mind. And most of the time, they don't even know why. Let's go deeper. There is something in psychology called psychological imprinting. It basically means this. People don't remember everything you do. They remember how you made them feel about themselves in your presence. Not what you said, not what you wore, not your jokes, but the emotional mirror you created inside them. Let me slow this down. When someone meets you, their mind is doing something secretly. It's asking, who am I when I'm around this person? And depending on your energy, your confidence, your emotional stability, your silence, your eye contact, they form an internal version of themselves. And that version is what they associate with you. So now here's where obsession starts. If someone feels, I feel different around this person. I feel more seen. I feel curious. I feel slightly unsettled. I feel something I can't explain. Their mind does something dangerous. It starts replaying you, over and over, because the brain hates unresolved emotion, and anything it cannot fully understand, it keeps revisiting. That's where attachment begins, not from attention, but from unfinished emotional experience. Now listen carefully to this part. Most people think attraction is about being liked, but in reality, deep attraction comes from slight psychological uncertainty, not confusion in a toxic way, but mystery in your presence. When someone cannot fully figure you out, their mind stays active about you, and an active mind is an attached mind. That's why some people are unforgettable even when they are quiet, and others are forgotten even when they try very hard. It's not effort, it's imprint depth. Let me ask you something real quick. Have you ever met someone who wasn't even doing anything special, but you found yourself thinking about them later, like random moments during the day? You're eating, and they pop up. You're walking, and they pop up. You're trying to focus, and somehow your mind drifts back to them. Now ask yourself, what exactly are you thinking about? Their face? No. Their actions? Not really. It's the feeling they left inside you. That's the key. Feelings create loops, and loops create obsession. Now let's go one layer deeper. According to Jungian psychology, humans don't just see each other. We project onto each other. That means we don't always see the real person in front of us. We see parts of our own unconscious mind reflected in them. So when someone meets you, they might be projecting their ideal partner, their emotional wounds, their unmet desires, their fear of losing control, their need for validation. And suddenly, you are not just you anymore. You become a symbol in their mind. And symbols are powerful. Symbols don't get forgotten easily. They live in the subconscious. So if someone is secretly projecting something deep onto you, even a short interaction can stay with them for days, weeks, sometimes longer, and they won't be able to explain why. They'll just say, "I don't know why I keep thinking about them." But the truth is, their unconscious already attached meaning to you. Now I want to pause here for a moment and bring you into something real. Because everything I'm telling you is not theory for entertainment. It's happening around you every single day, at work, at school, online, in conversations, and most people never realize it, because they're too focused on what is being said, instead of what is being felt. And that is where real influence lives, not in words, but in presence. Let's make this even more practical. There is something I want you to observe the next time you talk to someone. Notice this carefully after they leave you. Do they seem emotionally neutral or slightly activated? Because activated people think about you more. Activation can be curiosity, slight nervousness, emotional warmth, confusion, admiration they don't express, feeling seen in a rare way. Any emotional activation creates memory hooks, and memory hooks create mental replay. And mental replay is what people call "can't get you out of my head." But really, it's just the brain trying to resolve emotional tension. Now here's where things get interesting, because most people assume the goal is to be liked by everyone, but psychology doesn't work like that. The human mind does not obsess over what is predictable. It obsesses over what feels meaningful but incomplete. That's why too available people are forgotten, too predictable people are ignored, too explainable people are replaced. But someone who creates emotional depth without effort stays in the mind, not because they tried, but because they triggered something internal. And this is where people usually start realizing something a little uncomfortable. You are not just remembered by others. You are stored in their mind in a certain emotional form. And that form is what determines whether someone becomes casually aware of you or quietly attached to you. One of the strongest psychological forces in human behavior is something called absence amplification. Simple meaning, when you are not present, The mind starts filling in the gaps about you. And the mind is terrible at leaving gaps empty. So it fills them with imagination. Now here's where it gets interesting. What the mind imagines is often more powerful than what actually happened, because imagination is emotional. Reality is just information. So when someone doesn't fully understand you, or doesn't fully get you, their brain starts replaying you in different versions. They think about, what did they mean by that? Why did they look at me like that? Were they interested or not? Why do I feel like they're different? And every question is a mental loop. And every loop creates emotional attachment, even if they don't want it, even if they resist it. That's how obsession quietly begins, not from closeness, but from unfinished understanding. Now let's talk about something even more subtle. Your energy when you leave a room. Most people think attraction happens when you are physically present, but psychologically. Your strongest impact often happens after you leave, because that's when reflection begins, and reflection is where meaning forms. If someone feels emotionally shifted around you, their brain replays the moment later and tries to label it. And here's the problem. If it cannot label it clearly, it stays open, and open loops don't close easily in human psychology. That's why some people remember a 2-minute conversation for days and forget hours of other interactions instantly. It's not time, it's emotional density. Now let's bring in Carl Jung again for a moment. Jung believed something very powerful, that people carry unconscious parts of themselves they do not fully understand. And when they meet someone who activates those parts, they don't just like the person, they project meaning onto them. This is why one person can meet you and feel calm, while another feels deeply emotional, or even unsettled, without any logical reason, because they are not reacting to you alone. They are reacting to what you awaken inside them. And that is where attachment becomes very real, because anything that touches the unconscious mind is not easily forgotten. Now let's simplify everything into something you can actually understand in daily life. People become mentally attached when you create emotional contrast, not predictability. You activate curiosity without forcing attention. You leave emotional, unfinished sentences in their mind. You make them feel something they cannot easily explain. You are present enough to matter, but not fully predictable. That combination creates mental repetition. And repetition is how the brain forms attachment. Not effort, not chasing, not performance. Now let's talk about something people rarely notice. Why nice people are sometimes forgotten quickly. This might sound strange at first, but listen carefully. When someone is always emotionally predictable, always safe, always available, always easy to read, the brain has no reason to replay them, because replay only happens when something feels incomplete or meaningful. This is why mystery is powerful, not fake mystery, not games, but natural depth. A person who is emotionally grounded but not fully figured out becomes memorable, because the mind keeps trying to understand them, and understanding is addictive. Now here's the final layer. You do not need to try to make people obsessed with you. In fact, trying usually destroys it, because effort creates tension, and tension creates control, not natural attraction. Real psychological impact comes from this simple internal state. I am not performing for attention, I am simply present. That presence creates space, and space allows projection, and projection creates meaning, and meaning creates memory, and memory is what people call, I can't stop thinking about them. So let's bring everything together. People become secretly attached to you when you don't fully reveal yourself all at once. You make them feel something real, even briefly. You leave emotional impressions instead of explanations. You exist in their experience in a way that feels slightly deeper than ordinary interaction. And most importantly, you don't chase their mind after leaving, because the mind only chases what it cannot fully capture. Now I want to end this with something simple. If someone has ever stayed in your mind longer than expected, it was never just about them. It was about what your mind was trying to resolve through them. And the same is true in reverse. People don't just think about you because of who you are. They think about you because of what you activated in them. So here's the quiet truth behind everything we just explored. You don't become unforgettable by trying to be unforgettable. You become unforgettable by being real enough to create emotional depth. But not so predictable that the mind can fully close the file on you. And once you understand that, you stop chasing attention and start understanding presence. And maybe the real question isn't, how do I make people obsessed with me? Maybe it's, what kind of emotional experience do I leave inside people when I'm no longer there? Because that answer, that is what decides everything. All right. Before you scroll away, listen to this for a second. Because if this already made you look at human behavior a little differently, then you're just scratching the surface. Here's what I want you to do. If you've ever had someone think about you more than they admit, or you've ever felt that silent pull from someone you couldn't quite explain, drop a comment right now and say, I feel it. I read every single comment, and I want to see how many people have actually experienced this without realizing it. And if you want the next part, where I go even deeper into how your silence, your eye contact, and even your absence can quietly shape attraction, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Because the next video might change how you move around people forever, and I'll see you in the next one.